Good morning, everybody. This is Xianliang with Morsels of a Thought, number 1220, 1220. Tomorrow will be a palindrome and a strobogram. A strobogram will be where you can turn it upside down and it still says the same thing in digital numbers. But today it is 1220. 1220 consecutive days since 3 years ago. Today I'm reading Grass Soup. Grass Soup we have looked at a couple of times, and right now we are only on page 4. Okay, black and white. Paisley and black and white. It's coming to me. Ouch! Still your screen. Ouch! Ow! Oh, sorry. Oh boy. You know what she did to me yesterday? Never mind. No, she stuck one claw into my heel. I think it was her, anyway. It was either she or the other one that was right there. Esri, maybe. But anyway. Okay, so what we have here is a story starting from 1960. The 11th of July, Capitol Construction. He hauls dirt clods. This is a man who told everybody his life after 20 years. About 10 years he spent in there, and then after that he spent another 10 years remembering and writing this book. So he dedicated quite a few years. Here we go. Oh, no, that's not it. Here. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I want to see the end of the book, where the end of the book ends. He goes from 1960 until 5th of September. It doesn't say what year that time. So anyway, he talks about a pen that used to be in his other world. He was a scholar. He was a literary man, and he was now in a socialist commune. Prison camp. Anyway, he says, when I had exhausted all other means of staying alive, I was tempted to try this pen. The sparkling object was incongruous in a labor camp. Here we go. Let's start with my pen was an imported brand. It gleamed among my few belongings. I felt when I held it that it gave off its own heat, a heat that was capable of warming your insides. This pen reminded me that I had once lived in a different world. Yes, that other world would come into my mind at times, but it would seem an illusion. It would bring with it an inexplicable melancholy. More importantly, the pen reminded me that skills I had learned in another world might be used in this one. When I had exhausted all other means of staying alive, I was tempted to try this pen. The sparkling object was incongruous in a labor camp, so out of harmony with its surroundings, yet it was the sole material connection I had with that other world. Its shimmering sparkle was a ray of hope. I used the pen to survive. This diary was written in the interstices, the cracks of time, when I wasn't either working in the fields or writing something else. As I wrote it, the first thing I would think of was not what had happened on a particular day, or nor the thoughts I might have had that were worth setting down. Instead, I would think first of the events or thoughts that I must absolutely not write down. The social circumstances in which we were living at that time did not allow a person to have personal thoughts or private matters. Anything private had to be handed over to the party. This included, of course, a diary. Depending on the degree of secrecy and the degree of evasion, the leaders would evaluate one's loyalty to the party with a capital P. People who willingly handed over their most unmentionable secrets were considered to be most loyal. In order to express absolute loyalty, infinite loyalty, some people would fabricate anti party and anti socialist thoughts that they had never had. It was these people who eventually suffered most, who were thrown into the labor camps to be reformed. Among the multitude of thought criminals, people who were sentenced because of their thinking, many had handed over diaries to the leaders which contained a few words or sentences that were incriminating. So, experience taught people to be hypocritical. As political movements started rolling over the country, gathering in China. This is mainland China. Uh, as political movements started rolling over the country, gathering in ever more people, the experience became general to the point that dishonesty became a common practice among all Chinese. Dishonesty not only permeated our daily lives, it affected our standard of ethics and culture, not just then, but also later. Since written words were used to expose counter revolutionary thinking, naturally words could also be used to whitewash oneself. Experience taught people how to use all kinds of written devices to transmit to the leaders information that might be useful to themselves. This was often done in an indirect way, but was another manifestation of general falseness. And so a diary could become a work of self promotion, written not for oneself but for others to see. In the 1960s, many diaries of martyrs or even living heroes were made public in China. These would be filled with the lofty spirit, the progressive thinking of their authors, and they would be prescribed as required reading, study material by the leaders. On the surface, the author would seem a genuine individual, honestly setting down a record of his soul with only himself in mind. In fact, from the start, he would be writing a recitation for his readers. So right now it is 5:18 a.m. I'm not feeling all that well at the moment. We've only read uh, two pages, and I have to say I'm going to pause here, and we shall indeed continue this next week because I have found the book. It was since number 1192, which is 18 days ago, 21 days ago, no, 28 days ago. So it's been 4 weeks since we've read this book. I should just talk a little more about the background at this moment, just because today is Cinco de Mayo, by the way, 2024. It is Sunday. Hold on, 11, 12, 20, number 1220. Blah, 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 blah. This book was written by an author who lives in China, who lived during the Cultural Revolution in China, who uh, was put in a commune. And the reason it's titled grass soup is that they would have to eat this undigestible grass soup. And over time, it really ruined their bodies. He would write this because he needed to live. And as he says in this part, he says that if he hadn't done this, he wouldn't have had a ray of hope, and that all other means of living had been exhausted. So we can tell that he was really in dire straits when he was writing. But the first thing he needed to do was learn not what not to write, because if you said "down with the party," you were immediately shot. Um, Not immediately shot, but you were immediately sent to the firing squad. So in China, there were many people who died, especially during something called the Great Leap Forward, which was where it'll talk about this that in this book too, but which was where the government said they needed all the metal they could get to make war munitions. And so they would actually get farmers to donate all their metal tools. And when they did that, of course, Farms were no longer able to be harvested except with wooden tools, and nobody can do that with their hands. And so many people starved to death. The actual total is not the official total. Some people say maybe 15 million people died. Anyway, a lot of people died, and it was something called the Great Leap Forward. It was supposed to be a movement that Mao Zedong thought of as a great leap forward, but it was actually a great leap backward, is what the scholars say now. It's a very interesting book, and I'm very sorry that I didn't. Maybe I should have started it over just now. But anyway, what we can do is look back at a morsel of a thought, morsels of a thought number 1192. And you can go back and hear the first 2 pages of it. And I hope you have a wonderful day today. I want to inspire you to have a great day. At the same time, I was at a rummage sale the last 2 weeks that it was a rummage. It was a rummage. We were rummaging through things and sorting them. Yesterday and the day before yesterday, we sold so much you would not believe. I'm going to put it on my if I can put it in my comments, I will. It'll be a photo of the aftermath. Maybe I might not put it in there. It's not too easy to read. Actually, never mind. But anyway, trust me, it was a big event. So I'm exhausted, and I'm going to go now. I should tell you that my family suffered through it. One of my great uncles was sent to a prison labor reform camp, and he survived over. He was originally sentenced to 25 years, but he actually spent 29 years because of whatever reason. So he said that day to day, somebody would fall over dead. He said day to day, they would sit on the ground, and they would be pretty much sitting cross-legged, and they would be sitting there to survive. And then when a person fell over, it meant he was dead. So he said and this is, I never met him. He came back to Shanghai from 1992 on, and my mom got to meet him one last time. But I wasn't invited on that trip to go to China in 1992. That was when she last saw him, and I think he died a year later in 1993. So I never met this great uncle, but I heard a lot of terrible, sad stories, and it was a very terrible time in mainland China. My great-grandmother sold tea. My great-grandmother sold tea in 1975. She was poor and sold tea. She didn't sell tea leaves. She sold tea, which meant that people who couldn't afford to buy tea leaves were her only customers. So glasses of tea, cups of tea. Anyway, so that's what I'll say for today. Okay, I will talk to you again tomorrow. Old Kinderhack.